You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Welcome to the Major Show, folks. Welcome. 15 years, 2 to 3 shows a weekday. 15 shows a week. What the hell more do you want from us, people? This is the big show, the circus tent in the sky. As always, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your wife did when you didn't wash those dishes before you put them in the dishwasher. But maybe she'll get over it. Maybe she won't. It's your problem. Anyway, guys, we're just remember, the show is always here for you, even if your wife isn't when she packs up and leaves, which is probably like now. So you can at least enjoy the show while she does that. So go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss1 on TikTok. People are going, my wife's leaving me? What? How does Chris know? I know. She's been texting me. So anyway, guys, we have an amazing gentleman on the show. Actually, he's a male model. So your wife might have been texting him. So there you go. But we decided that since I am one of the principal male models of the Chris Voss Show, and I just have this exuding sexual presence that conveys George Clooney or Brad Pitt. Sometimes they call me for tips. They don't. We decided to invite a wonderful gentleman onto the show, and he is a model for real, actually, like he really has the job, and where I just made it up. And he's a real estate investor, he's a trainer and an athlete, and he has an amazing life story and journey that he's going through, and he's sharing it to try and help with other people. Jonathan joins us on the show today, and we'll be talking to him about his accomplishments. Jonathan Niziol. Do I got that right, Jonathan?
You got it. Yep.
There we go. And he'll be talking to us about his journey. He embodies the strength of unwavering commitment, resilience, and optimism. After his mother's sudden passing when he was 21, he found his life shattered by a prolonged battle with addiction and severe health issues. And as a model and professional lacrosse player, his life was perfect on the surface, but the mental health and addiction issues that held him up into their grip made it difficult for him to move forward in life. Now he's 41 and he still looks like a male model. He's doing pretty good. Almost as good looking as me, but I think I work for Denny's is where you can find my male model portfolio, and
as long as they sign the checks, man.
There you go. Denny's and McDonald's. Little IHOP there for the pancake crowd. He believes it's the opportune moment to start sharing his extraordinary life journey with an open-hearted approach to his challenges, and he aspires to equip others with the resilience and tools required to conquer their inner battles. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And thanks for all the tips you gave me on off air. I've been doing this for 14 years, but you told me some stuff that I haven't heard in my 14-year career modeling. So I'll definitely put that in my my repertoire. So appreciate that as a fellow coworker.
Yeah, I have that magenta steel look.
Yeah. Well, save some of it further. But that was, I'll put that. Yeah, I'm doing great though. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time and having me on here.
Thank you for coming. And for those ladies out there, you can go to his sutherlandmodels.com website and download his portfolio. So there you go. So Jonathan, give us a .com. Where can people find you on the interwebs? Where's the social sites we can go to?
Best place to find me. So I'm getting started on TikTok and stuff. I'm kind of late to the game on that, but my Instagram is definitely best place to find me. It's Jonathan Niziol, Niziol, just my name. I'm going to be starting a YouTube. I have a Facebook page as well, and TikTok, like I said. So got most of the socials covered.
There you go. So people can find you, find your work, things you're talking about, things you're trying to help people with.
Yep.
Give us a 30,000 overview of what you're doing right now and what you do between dodging panties and bras being thrown at you consistently.
Yeah, if only. So I'm originally from Canada. I come to you from Texas right now. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I've been here for about 4 years. I moved down because I love Canada, but I don't love the Canadian winters. I'm a dual
Oh,
citizen, so I had the ability to live and work in either. And I was just kind of sitting there one day and, gray, dreary February, -30, and neither my dog or I wanted to go out. And I looked at my US passport and I was like, I'm taking this thing and I'm going south,
and you went to
very far south.
Texas where it's hotter than hell and the humidity is
Yeah.
hotter than hell.
Yeah. It
There
is,
you go.
but you know what? I'll take it. I complained all winter in Canada, so I'll take it. But like you said, I'm modeling and I'm doing real estate investments, doing flip projects with a business partner of mine. She's a broker and an agent, and she handles that side of it, and then I handle the general contracting side of it. And I've cut back on my training a little bit. I've been a certified personal trainer for about 13 years, but I'm being very selective with who I'm working with now, just because I'm putting a lot of time and effort into what you said, and just getting my story out there, and really putting a lot of time into that. And but fitness is definitely a huge passion of mine. And in my free time, I love to play hockey. I mean, go figure, Canadian. Oh gosh, who would have thought that, eh? Um,
Okay.
yeah,
The boot.
had a game last out and about, boys, out and about. Had a game last night. I've got a game Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's actually a pretty good hockey scene down here in Texas. So
Really?
I play, yeah, surprisingly. That was one of the things I looked into before I moved down. But I play 4 days a week, four different teams, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all over the DFW. And yeah, it keeps me in shape, and it helps, besides just going to the gym and doing cardio, and plus the camaraderie of, being an athlete all my life and then still having that with some friends and meeting some great people. So yeah, and I'm, other than that, pretty low key. Like to spend a lot of time with my dog, and do a lot of reading and all that kind of cliche stuff. But I'm just a pretty chill guy.
There you go. Well, I probably should ask the most obvious question then. Are you single for the ladies out there that are now
I
downloading
am.
your
Yeah, I am. I am.
uh,
As my notifications, what are all these direct messages coming in? Jeez, that was fast. Chris,
just
buddy, you gotta.
so you don't write the
Jeez.
show? Oh, did you get those DMs I sent you?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wait till you see the Snapchat. Oh, so just so the ladies know, don't write the show, damn it, on how to contact him. He's got his email on his Instagram, so you can go there, people, and do
Yeah.
that, and you're probably going to get the probably some folks from West Hollywood and San Francisco, so which is fun. So let's talk about your hero's journey. I mean, you're living your best life. I've known some male
Trying
models.
to.
The truth to be told, actually, I owned a modeling agency in Utah and California in I think it was 2000, 2001 to 2006. And it was an acting modeling agency. Had our own bikini team and stuff. So we had male models, we had female models. And that's how I kind of know what models are. And of course, I was the head of it, being the most hottest model of them all. And you should see me in a bikini, damn it. Oh, geez, wow.
Save it, Snapchat, buddy. Save it for Snapchat.
It's a save it for Snapchat. There you go. So, but you're going through a great journey. I mean, most male models I know, they kind of fade away maybe after 30 or 40. You've gone 20 years in the business and you're still rocking it.
Yeah. So I actually started late. I started when I was 26. I kind of had to start late because, like you mentioned, my mom passed away very suddenly the day before my 21st birthday. She wasn't sick. It was a very unexpected, very tragic passing, and that led me in the direction of drinking. And I, drank a lot. I became an alcoholic. I was quite overweight.
Wow.
See some pictures of me on my Instagram, and I was not functioning as an alcoholic, but I didn't know how to feel my feelings or deal with my feelings. That's when I was diagnosed with having severe anxiety and clinical depression and panic disorder and those things. And back then it wasn't talked about. I didn't know what I was dealing with. And the only way that it seemed to be remedied was, drink 15 to 25 beers at a time and just,
Oh, wow.
deal with it. So I did that for a few years and got to a pretty dark place and a pretty bad place health wise. And I'm very lucky because I got a really bad case of acute pancreatitis, and
Oh,
that put me in. Yeah, that put me in the hospital for just under a month. I had to have. I was 25 at the time. I had to have 5 blood transfusions. I
Wow.
almost died twice. I lost 60 pounds in that month, but the first 2 weeks alone, I lost 40 pounds. And like I said, I almost died twice. But I came out of that with a much greater appreciation for taking care of my body. And it scared me. They didn't know what I could handle alcohol wise from there on. But having gone through
Mhm.
that, and it was from drinking, I said, okay, I don't want to, I'm never going to touch a sip of alcohol again. So I'm
Yeah. Good
16,
for you.
16 and a half years sober from alcohol. But
Mhm.
I found other devices of,
Uh-oh.
we'll get into that. But
There you go.
yeah, so that's,
Let me delve into this a little bit if you don't mind.
sure, of course.
In your journey. So, your mother obviously was an important factor in your life. Did
Very.
you have a father growing up in your life?
I do. Yeah, yeah.
There
My
you go.
father actually, so he's still here with us. He actually lives about 20 minutes away from me. He moved down a couple of years
Mhm.
ago. He and I are very close. But yeah, my mom and I were best friends.
Mhm.
Very important figure. Just shattered my world as I knew it.
Yeah. A mother really helps shape young man. A father does too, but
Hmm.
if daughters really seem to have, there's a lot of influence that goes to them with a father, and then mothers with a son. And so when you lost your mother, were you just not equipped to handle it, or how to deal with it, or did you put your feelings away and move to alcohol? What was it, the crisis that was making you and not maybe get closure or something?
It was more of a, like, not knowing how to deal with it,
Mhm.
and how do I just not feel these feelings?
Mm,
How do I distract myself? How do I temporarily, comfortably numb myself?
mm,
And that was my way of dealing with it. And by not dealing with it, because like I said, I didn't, therapy wasn't really talked about as much back then. That was 20 years ago. And um, anxiety, depression, all these things weren't really as talked about as much. So yeah, I was just really just trying to deal with it in any way, but avoiding it
mhm.
was my way of dealing with it.
There you go. Do you find you have an addictive personality, or were you
Oh,
more
very much
using
so.
it and abuse? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much so. It's my dad says it's my greatest asset and it's my worst. When I do things, I want to do them to the nth degree. So like when
Mhm.
I was, skateboarding in high school, I was like, okay, I want to be a professional skater. I didn't become a professional skater, but, and then, whether it's sports, I took lacrosse all the way to becoming a professional lacrosse player. And
Wow.
when I drank, I drank until I put myself in the hospital for a month,
Damn.
and the drugs came afterwards, and other things came after that. But yes, I do have a very addictive personality. It's something that I've had to learn to quell and really be aware of and
Mhm.
learn to balance out. And I'm finally doing that now, and it's taking a long time to do that because it is in me instinctively. So
Mhm.
yeah, that personality has always been, like I said, one of my best and my worst assets.
There you go, that drive. So at what point did you start finally, realizing that maybe you need to get the addictions, and you have the crisis with the health and the booze, but then you move on to other addictions. When did you finally start saying, "Hey, maybe I should deal with this"? And what steps did you take? Did you seek some psychology help, or meditation, or anything of that nature?
I did, and it wasn't until I was 35, to be
Mhm.
honest. I spent about 15 years as an addict, as this comfortably numb and avoiding things. And I went to therapy at 35 after, excuse me, I developed an eating disorder when I was modeling because of the pressure that's put on you physically as you start traveling and you start working and seeing other people and start comparing yourself to other people, and you're like, well, why is this person working more than I am? and I spend so much time in the gym, and that was another one too, where I had a fitness addiction because, I'm doing something good, I'm doing something healthy, but if you're going twice a day and spending 6 hours in the gym a day, anyway, so I went from that, and then um, it was like it all comes back to trying not to feel my feelings, because I say that I had bulimia, but I say that I was a functioning bulimic. Whereas, I would eat all my meals throughout the day, and I would eat very healthy. I'd take all my vitamins, everything would be fine. But it would be like when the night was over and I was alone with myself and my thoughts, I needed something to boost my serotonin, something to distract me, and that's where the binging and purging would come in. So it was about an 8-year battle that I had with that, and then I started to dabble with drugs again. And, first it was smoking weed, and, I was just like, oh, I'll just smoke a little bit of weed. But my brain doesn't say that. My brain says, oh, that felt good. Let's do that all the time. Like, oh yeah, like we're going to smoke like a quarter ounce. Like, no, like I was smoking like 2 ounces a week, like by myself, and I was at the point where I was going to different drug dealers. I was so embarrassed with how much weed I was buying and how much I was spending on this stuff. And I would go and then I started with the Adderall, because that was, a really good way to focus, a good way to stay lean. But then I'd find myself on, 3 or 4 day benders where I would just be up for days. And, I finally had to cut that off. And then the next thing was the nitrous and doing whippets.
Wow.
And, I like those things are extremely addictive. And I always say that I was very good with keeping myself on the baseline drugs. Like I did a lot of them, and I did them to excess, but I knew the moment that I put like cocaine in my system, that was it. There was no turning back. I knew that I couldn't graduate to the next step. So I stayed on that baseline, and the final straw for me was in my 30s. I finally quit smoking weed. I cut back on the whippet. Like I was but I found these muscle relaxers, over-the-counter muscle relaxers, and they had 500 milligrams of what's called methocarbamol, which is a muscle relaxer, and 200 milligrams of ibuprofen in each pill.
Wow.
And I would take them because I had aches and pains from working out and from lacrosse, and I'd smoke some weed and I'd take like 4 of them. I'd be like, oh, I feel a little extra loose. So when I quit smoking, I saw these pills and I was like, okay, well, what happens if I take a couple more and a couple more? And that's the addict's mentality is, one is too many and 1,000's never enough. And anyway, I got to the point where, it says don't exceed 12 per day. And I was taking 100 of these pills every single day. And I'm not saying it because I'm proud of it. I'm not saying it because it's a fact of the matter. I would go there, I'd buy the generic version. It was $38 and some change. It was a bottle of 100. I would just dump a handful of 30 or so in there. I just drink whatever. And then I'd either fall asleep for a while or I'd be like kind of out of it. And I did that for a number of months, and I started to not feel myself. Go figure. I started to feel a little off, and not just when I was under the influence or taking the pills. I started to notice that my motivation and my strength and it was just all kind of falling off. I had no drive, and I was losing weight. And I remember I was on a shoot and I was starting to have fainting spells. I fainted at my house twice. I woke up, my dog's licking my face, and I'm like,
wow.
So I'm starting to freak out and think, I'm going to be driving one day and I'm going to faint and I'm going to take somebody out. Like, I'm doing this to myself, but I'm really worried about like this impacting other people. And I was doing a shoot one day, and we were shooting actually the cover of a romance novel. I've been on the cover of like over 150 romance novels.
Damn, dude, I've only been on 5 or 10.
Well, I mean, let me have it. Let me have one thing. Okay? I mean, like that'll be my thing. But they were a great client when I was up in Canada. They were great to work with, Harlequin. And we're shooting on the top of a truck, and every time I'd get down, I'd be like, I'm about to pass out. I'm gonna pass out, and I'm gonna cause a scene. So I went home that day, and I didn't take the pills, and I figured I finally put 2 and 2 together and was like, okay, I can't ignore this any longer. The next day, I was supposed to go to a shoot. I went straight to the ER instead, and I had massive internal bleeding. I had an intestinal ulcer
Holy shit.
from taking 50,000 milligrams of methocarbamol and 20,000 milligrams of ibuprofen every single day. I was taking that.
Yeah.
So that was the final straw. That's when I was 35, and I was like, this plan that I have is not a plan. It's not working. I'm not living the life I'm supposed to be living. I'm not living the life for myself, for my mom, for the people around me. I mean, not to mention all the dozens of rock bottoms that I had hit, throughout my whole 15 years. And I just wasn't, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing and living how I was supposed to be living. And that's when I said, enough of this macho BS about, therapies for wimps and all that stuff that I used to tell myself about, I don't have the money, but I have money for drugs. I don't have the time. I got time for drugs. But I'm not going to sit there and pay somebody to judge me. And I just said, you know what? I've got to do something else. And that's when I went, and things got a lot harder before they got a lot easier, because I was now sober for the first time. I didn't have a distraction. Even when I was sober, I was working out too much. And then I wasn't sober. But I was 35 and I was an adult, and I'm trying to live now as a functioning sober adult, and all of these nice little things that I had compartmentalized and, put over here and put over there and tucked away here, and this failed relationship and mom passing and eating disorder and, the creepy guy from that casting I went to in Miami, like all of that just flooded and unloaded. But I just, with that same mentality of, I'm all or none, I said, I'm not going to let this beat me, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to get to work. And I worked with a wonderful therapist and started to learn the tools that I needed to live as a functioning, sober, adult for the first time.
There you go. So we can encourage people to do the work. How long did it take before you finally felt like you were starting to really break through? Because some people go, they're like, hey, I'll go see a psychiatrist, and they go to like one meeting, and then they're like, I'm sure I'm fine now.
Yeah, it took. So I saw the psychiatrist in Canada that I saw for about 2.5 years. And at first it was every week, because like I said, everything just came rushing to me. And, the mental health, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was seeing her every week. And then we started to go to 2 weeks. But slowly I was picking up these tools, and I wanted to learn the tools to do the work myself. I didn't want to have to call her from the grocery store and be like, should I get whole wheat bread with seeds or without seeds? I didn't want to rely on this person for I wanted to learn how to do this myself, and to just say, hey, I don't know how to do this, and I need help. I need these tools so I can solve these problems, and not run to, I believe there's a great place for medication. And I do take a daily medication, just as like a kind of a helper thing. But I didn't want to run to something like I knew I could never take a Xanax or any of those kinds of things, because that would just turn into another thing. So to answer your question, I would say after about a year, it started to rebuild my confidence. That's what I needed to do, was to rebuild my self-confidence, and to know that I can do this, and I can do this sober, and I can do it well, and I can feel the ups and downs of life. Whereas, if things got too real and they drop down here, it'd be like, oh, well, I got to reach for something. I got to find something. But, the ups and downs and ebbs and flows of life are like, okay. And after about a year, I'd see her once a month. And then I got to a place where I was I was in a good place mentally, and I felt like I had done the work, and I was ready to make a move down to Texas to go towards an opportunity, and not to run from my problems like I had been doing for 15 years or so. And I started seeing somebody recently, just as more of a check-in, just as like every 6 weeks, just to chat, and just, like I said, not crisis management kind of stuff. Just like, it's nice. I spend so much time on my physical health and taking my vitamins and eating healthy and all that kind of stuff. Like, I just want to tune up, and just like a nice conversation with a educated, non-biased, third party person. So yeah, I would say it took me about a year to start to build, but
Mhm.
it really took a lot to build, and that's why such a big believer in treating people with respect, because it is so easy to break somebody's self-confidence or to break your own self-confidence, and it can take years or a lifetime to rebuild.
Mhm.
And as somebody who's done that to themselves, and my therapist that I see now, she's like, it can take one sentence to ruin somebody's life, self-confidence, and it can take a lifetime to never be able to rebuild it. So I think it's
Wow.
very important to lead with grace and to be put positivity out there for people, because I wouldn't wish what I've been through upon my worst enemy, but at the same time, I wouldn't take it back for the world, because it's made me who I am today, and I'm very proud of that.
There you go. And you were really lucky that you had the wherewithal to, reach a point of acknowledgement where you can go, I need help. There's a lot of people, especially some that, suffer from really bad addiction where, either the law has to intervene or they have a fainting or drunk driving episode or they have friends who have to have an intervention and, force you to go to rehab or court forces you to go to rehab. So it's
Yeah,
good that you had the wherewithal to do that. And I imagine, in therapy, you had to exercise all your demons. A lot of people, they
big
they
time.
hold stuff inside, and it becomes like a poison that just kind of self poisons you. And until you kind of bleed that out, you let that poison out, kind of like a snake bite. You got to bleed out that poison. Until you do that in therapy, and you stare at your demons and some of the things that are haunting you and that you're hiding. I imagine that's part of the journey you had to go through.
Absolutely, it is. It truly is, and that is accepting what's happened in your life and
Hmm.
recognizing it and seeing it for what it is. Like, my mom, like I said, was the most important person in the world to me, and she passed, and it was awful. It still is awful to this day, and I think about her every
Hmm.
single day. But it's an unfortunate fact of life, but it is a fact of life. And that is, how I've had to move forward. And, whether things are good or bad. And I'll say this first. When I worked with my therapist, I really liked the way that she approached it, because it was at my pace and what I wanted to talk to. If I glanced over something, she wouldn't be like, hey, let's go back to that part where like you almost broke down. Like, let's focus on that. Like, she wasn't one of those people, and that was
Hmm.
a very good communication style for me. Whereas I could unfurl and unravel my traumas, and my the things I was ready to talk about, not ready to talk about, and do that at my own pace and kind of work through it. But you're absolutely right. It's facing your demons, and knowing that these are part of our life. But you know, more recently, I've looked at myself and life and realized that a lot of it, and where I've gotten to now, and I'm still just trying to grow. I do not think I have it all figured out by any means. you know, when I was 18, I had it all figured out. Like, don't
Oh
get me
yeah.
wrong.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you need the answer. I had, like, come to me. But the older you get, the more you realize you don't know. It's one of the reasons why I love talking about this stuff, is I want to learn from other people. It's very cathartic for me to open up and to unveil these things that I thought I was going to take to my grave because I was ashamed of them. But I've forgiven myself for the things that have happened to me out of my control, and for the things that I've done and the mistakes that I've made, because you know what? I was trying my best with what I had at the time. I was
Mhm.
just doing my best. I didn't know. I was doing the best I could, and yeah, it took me down a wrong path, but okay. I mean, I was trying,
No.
and I think that's a big thing that people hold on to, is that element of not forgiving yourself for making mistakes, and the money I spent and the time I wasted and all. Yeah, that's okay. That's there, and we can't change that. So let's not dwell on the past, and
Mhm.
let's just focus on being present and understanding that that's happened.
And that's so important. And I like what you're doing now about how you're sharing and talking about it. I mean, I remember one time my first child, my first dog, that I had for about 12 or 14 years, one night just passed away within a half an hour of a seizure.
Oh,
And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I always thought, you'd have that, okay, well, spend some time with your dog and they're
right.
sick and put them down and you'll have the whole time to say goodbye. And it was just
Yep.
instant. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I remember putting down half a bottle of vodka and just pouring out in a drafted Facebook post everything I felt. And I thought, my God, I don't want to share this with people. This is way too much. This is way too emotional. This is way too private. And I kind of really didn't want to wake up the next morning. And I was deep in the sauce. And I sat there for a half an hour looking at it going, I don't want to press this button. And finally, I guess probably with enough vodka, I did. And I'm like, I gotta go pass out. And so I pressed the button and passed out. And then I'm like, I don't know, maybe I just won't wake up tomorrow morning. And the next morning I woke up with incredible hangover and people calling me. But people after that, I learned, were moved by what I'd written and what I'd shared in my story that I didn't want to share. And they were like, hey man, seeing how you poured out your heart and soul in that post and sharing your story, I realized that I didn't have closure from my dad passing away or my dog passing away, or you helped me understand more of what I, and connect more. And a lot of people were bearing their feelings, and maybe they're using some different devices to mask that or bury it or distract from it like you were. But it was amazing how many people it helped. And in fact, some of the stories that I share with my second dog that went through cancer, and we about a year and a half, we did things to keep her going and survive it for quite a while. In fact, it was arthritis that got her in the end. And but telling those stories have saved so many other people. And that's the one thing about life. We don't, you don't get an owner's manual. And so you're kind of doing like you said, the best you can, but sharing our stories and sharing our journeys and sharing our cathartic moments and our failures, and then how we get through them, are a great way to actually help other people and help each other. And you realize you're not alone. And that's what I found when I shared my story, like you're sharing your story, where you find out that, other people go, hey man, you're not alone. We're all going through this. You're going to be fine. You're going to get through it. So it's great that you're doing that now.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And I appreciate, those are great examples. And I love dogs. So, I was that my little dog's out there just waiting patiently for dinner. But, and that's the thing, I'm not a preaching on drinker. I don't think everybody should not drink. I think everybody should live their life and eat what you want to eat and do what you want to do. I'm not a preachy, do this kind of, do that kind of person. I'm just, like you said, I just want to share, because I remember that loneliness of being so empty and just thinking, you know what, I'm done with this. Like, this should just be a lot easier if I just took that way out and I just was done with this. And I'm never going to have a normal life again. I'm never going to be normal. And you're right. Like, after I shared, I'm just, like I said, I told you before in the pre-interview, I'm just starting to talk about this in the last month or so. And I put a post on Instagram, excuse me, talking about some of this stuff and talking about having an eating disorder and having the drug addictions. And I, hit the post button and the nerves kind of flooded over me. And the next time I walked in the gym, I was like, oh my gosh, everybody knows some of my secrets. Like, they're looking at me differently. And I had an amazing reception with regards to people being like, hey, like, that was a really brave thing you did. I really appreciate that. Like, if you ever need to talk, or like you said, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, and if somebody is going to, take the time and make fun of you because of that, well, they're a piece of shit anyway. So, like,
they're probably haven't dealt with their issues either, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I had somebody actually on my TikTok who commented that it's a lot easier to get over depression if you're attractive and fit. And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought, you know what? I made a post and I answered back to that video, and I say, I understand this person who made this comment. I was this person. I really sympathize with this person. I hope whoever wrote this, I know they're going through something very hard, and I know that's coming from a place of pain. So I really hope that they can get the help that they need. And it doesn't, as we know, things don't make it easy. I mean, you look in the mirror every day and you see perfection. So it's like, it's not, it's just, we still have our ups and downs. Think about the rest of us, Chris. Geez. Yeah. But it's, it doesn't make it easier. And, these things don't pick people by race, by gender, by creed, by tax bracket. These things these are societal problems. And, I think it's important to talk about. And, I often remember, people looking at me and looking at me like a way I felt like an imposter, because on the outside, they saw something and they saw a certain thing. There's Jonathan. Oh yeah, that's the guy who's traveled around the world and done all the modeling, and the guy who's really fit and comes in here but on the inside, I was broken. I was a shell of a human being, and I felt like a fraud. And I remember writing to myself I would write down notes and just kind of when I was feeling positive, and I always talk about trying to focus on the positive. And I would just write to myself, be the person that people think you are. I need to be that person. And I started to become the person for myself that I know I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much about other people's interpretations. It's about being the best person for yourself. But that was a stepping stone for me. And that, like I said, it really made me feel like a fraud. And just to take it back to the whole dog thing, I have 2 quotes about dogs that I love. And, as a dog lover, you've maybe heard them or whatever. And one of them is try and be the person your dog thinks you are. Because it doesn't matter if you are. I mean, you see people on the streets with dogs. You see people you get home and you are killing it, man. You are you got food on time. You're you are that person. So the way they look up to you is just try and be that person. And the second one is I love my dog because it's the only one that treats me like I'm the Beatles every time I come home. And it's that you're back. It's I am back. Let's have a party. Okay. For 5 minutes. But yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It's very cathartic to empty those things out. It's important to really just, like I said before, to really forgive yourself and to do it with a purpose. It sounds corny, but if I can tell my story and help even one person and help them, feel better, I just want to help make the world a better place. And if somebody hearing my story and hearing the things and the mistakes that I've made can help them through stuff that are going through, then I'm more than happy to. Or as a cautionary tale of don't do this. Trust me. I mean, I got a ton of stories, and we could spend a whole day talking about. I mean,
we got a few more shows there.
Yeah, I mean, we were going before we hit record, but
there you go.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. It's really important to share and to really lean on and help one another, and to realize that we are all going through things, and we can use some help. And I think it's an important thing to do.
There you go. It seems like everybody goes through some sort of cathartic things in their life. I drank really heavily for 20 years, mainly because I'm a machine. Vodka just is like sugar for me, so I can go forever. I can party all night long if I got booze, and I was never addicted to it, but I abused it. So half a bottle of vodka. And I'm a bigger guy, so it takes a little bit. I have a high tolerance for any drugs. So I have to take a whole lot if I want. And thankfully I never really got anything, because cocaine just gives me a post nasal drip and it doesn't even give me high. It's just a post nasal drip, and it's annoying as hell. And I'm just is this all there's? I suppose if I snorted a whole bloody 8-ball, maybe it would do something. But who's got the money for that on a continual basis? But booze was kind of like my thing, because it gave me that nice little buzz. But after 20 years and waking up with too many hangovers and the abuse of my body just going, you know what? Fuck you. We're done with you. We're moving out. Our kidney and liver started packing their bags, and they're like, we're just not gonna deal with you anymore. You got tired of the waking up with the hangovers, the feeling like shit. I started tuning in my body more and eating better, and I could tell I was dehydrated for 2 and 3 days. And you're like, wow, it's just an hour of fun on Friday night. It's 3 days of hell. And once you hit 50, you have a beer and you got a hangover. And so all the abuse kind of caught up to me, but that's kind of how we learn. We kind of sadly, hindsight's always 2020. And it's not until we get about 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we look back and go, wow, there's a mess I left behind.
Yeah, for sure. No,
And then
it's
hopefully you learn
absolutely.
from it. Yeah.
That's the thing, and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and no matter what happens or what we're going through, I think it's really important to, even if it is 15 years, or you spent your 20 years of doing that, I spent my 15 years of doing whatever, to look back and to see everything, even my mom's passing, and say, what am I supposed to learn from this? How
Mm-hmm.
am I going to move forward from this? And to find the message, and how are we going to learn and grow and move forward to either avoid making the same mistakes, or just have a learning experience, and to go forward with it. But I think everything happens for a reason, and yeah, there's a message in everything, and you have to really, sometimes you have to, feel the feelings of grief or loss or whatever it is you're feeling. Like, go through that, feel it for sure, but then look back at it and say, what was that? Why was that? And if it's something that was out of your control, then okay, I have to come to terms with this. If it's something that was in your control, then okay, like you said, I can avoid this by not drinking a handle of vodka, even though it was like goes down like water for you. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's important.
You couldn't get a buzz on unless you really got going. But I'd gone up to 350 pounds or something like that. I
Wow.
was pretty high. And so, yeah, it took a little bit more to move the needle. But for me, it was like a sugar. At first it started out where I was like, yeah, I'll have some vodka. And I'd be tired at the end of the night. And I own 3 companies and I'm trying to work longer hours and do the whole CEO entrepreneur thing. And so I'm like, well, get a hit of the thing. And it was like drinking a sugar shot. And you're like, hey, I'm kind of awake now. I'm relaxed. I'm not less tight, so I can work more.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it's great you're sharing the journey. What is your plan now? Are you gonna start doing some coaching? Are you gonna keep sharing your story on Instagram, trying to inspire more people? You're doing a lot with, what you're doing with working out that I see here on Instagram.
Yeah, so the plan right now is I'm putting more content out and just kind of sharing my journey on
Mhm.
Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and eventually YouTube, and getting into deeper topics, and just kind of what I've been through, and talking to friends and stuff, and what I've learned from people around me. I do want to get to the point. I've had a lot of people reach out, and the first thing I say is, you should go speak to a medical professional, and you should go talk to somebody who's a licensed medical professional. But I love when people reach out, and like I said, whether it's asking me something, or learning something from them. But no, I want to continue this journey, and I want to. I'm going to start doing some speaking engagements, and doing more podcasts, and eventually starting my own as well, and just kind
There
of
you go.
seeing where it goes. I love modeling. I mean, now that you're retired, I mean, you left some space for the rest of us. The vacuum's kind of opened up, so
Yeah.
the rest of us can put some food on our plates. Like, thanks, bud. Like, but I want to be. You know what? I want to be booked as. I've been for 14 years. I've been booked as Jonathan. Like, I've been booked as the guy who's 6'2". He's got kind of tan skin. He's got muscles and stuff. I mean, the same stuff you look at in the mirror every day.
Yeah, I'm
But I
6
want
foot
to be.
2 too.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be booked for me, for Jonathan Niziol, the guy who
Mhm.
has those things and works really hard and is very diligent, but the guy who's been through stuff and comes with the message, and is deeper than just what's skin deep, because
Mhm.
I think are much more than that. So I don't know. It's kind of up to the universe, and kind of just I've got an
Mhm.
idea and directions on where I want to go with things, and then it's kind of seeing where how things unfold, and just taking them. But right now, like I said, I'm working on putting out content weekly on Instagram, quite a bit on Instagram and TikTok, and working with a social media team, and getting that stuff out, focusing on certain topics, and really starting the conversation with people, and yeah, just going from there.
There you go. Write a book. Books are always great. You tell your story in a
That's
book,
definitely,
tell your life story. Yeah.
yeah, that's absolutely,
So
that's definitely, that's a longer term. You're up. Yeah, I forgot.
those are the
You're
stories
absolutely right.
we were talking about earlier that we didn't talk about in the show.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure
Oh
you have
yeah.
plenty.
No,
You could probably
that's,
fill a whole book.
oh man. Oh yeah, for sure. And a couple, but
Yeah.
you know what? We all can. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fascinating. Like, you know, it's really life's very interesting that way. And like I said, I wouldn't change it for anything because it's made me who I am. And you know, it's what I had to go through. And hindsight's 2020. I mean, great. If we could do that, then great. But I don't think I'd want to go back and I'd want to change anything. I think it's just this is what we have, and I don't know why even spend time thinking about that when it's not a possibility. And let's just keep moving forward and growing. And this feels right, you know. As much as like
Mhm.
the first time I did a podcast, or first time I hit that button to share that post, as much as the nerves and the anxiety really built up, you know, connecting with people like yourself and having these and you know, thankfully being invited on your platform to share and to talk about it, it feels right, and it's something that I want to continue to do. And I'm just a regular guy who's trying to share his story and help
Mhm.
other people with theirs, and yeah, just make the world a better place. So we'll see.
There you go. There's the beauty of it. When you write your book, I'll give it to the Victoria's Secret models that I date because they kind of have a cocaine problem. So, that's
Yeah,
all
they
I'll
need
give it.
someone to do that. They need someone what, to put it on top of it.
Yeah,
They're
pretty
gonna
much.
read. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm
fair
like,
enough, buddy.
is that mirror for doing your hair? Oh no, that's on the table. Okay,
Oh,
I don't know what
that's
that
horizontal. That's a 8 foot
is. Yeah,
on the, yeah.
and they come
That's not what mirrors
and
are
they
for.
come to my house and the mirror's on the roof over the bed, very 70s style.
Yeah,
Me and you have to.
throwback.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go. We're a bit old. So there
yeah,
you go. But I'm glad you're sharing your story because stories are the owner's manual to life. They're how we learn from each other, the lessons we learn, they how we
certainly.
realize we're not alone in the universe. That there's a human commonality among us. And you know, the worst thing people can do is feel that they're alone and they're alone with their problems and they feel
Yep.
persecuted because maybe they're the only one who's suffering from this. And when you open up and you talk about your issues, then you find other people you know, have these issues as well. So there you go. And I'm glad
Yes.
a modeling kindred spirit of mine came on the show.
I mean,
Oh,
hey,
jeez.
buddy, we got to stick together.
We gotta stay together. This model gotta stay
We got to
together. There
band
you go.
together. You know,
There you
yeah.
go. So give us your Instagram one more time, and I think a TikTok wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, so Instagram and TikTok are both just my name. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, and Niziol, Niziol, or Niziol for the Canadians and the other places that use that instead of Z. But that's where you'll find me on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. I don't think there's much on my YouTube channel yet, but I do have that YouTube channel. Marked, and on Facebook. And yeah, I would love to hear from people. I love to hear people's stories. I love to connect and talk and to learn. Like I said, like I just don't think we can share enough and learn enough from each other and have these kinds of conversations. I think they're extremely important.
Yeah. And I mean, in my life, you can learn a lot, like what not to do ever.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah,
2,000 over 2,000 interviews, man. I mean, you should be making like perfect everything. I mean, you should.
we
Geez, I can
try.
only imagine.
It depends on if I can feel my legs or not. When you're 55, it's all over. So, there you
Yeah. Fair enough.
go.
No,
There you go.
I have a lot of respect for what you do,
Thank you.
and how long
Thank
you've
you.
been doing it for. And I aspire to get to a place where, and maybe
You
one
won't feel
day
your
you'll
legs?
come on. Yeah, well, maybe not that part. Maybe not that part. I was going to go a different direction with it. I was going to say like maybe one day I'll have a podcast and you'll come on mine, but
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not that part. Legs are kind of important to, you know. I gotta walk. I gotta play hockey, but yeah, I'd like to. I've got a couple bruises on my knees from the last, like a couple hits into the boards, the last
There you
tournament I
go.
played in and stuff. And I'm like, geez, I'm getting too old for this. But then the next game comes around, and I'm like, I can't wait to do this. I mean, it's just, I love it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, it's a good ride. But write your book, tell your story, share it with the world, inspire other people, and you know the great thing about it is you're going to help actually probably a lot more people that you'll never hear from, and but you'll touch them and you'll move them in a way and you'll change their life in a way, and every now and then you'll hear about it. Somebody will come up to you and go, "Hey, you know, 3 years ago you said something, and I didn't really say anything at the time because I couldn't deal with it." But you helped me get through this and you changed my life. I mean, there's people on my Twitter account that, you know, I just shared some quotes one day of some positive stuff and they wrote me privately and said I was going to end it today. This was the day that I'd made the decision to end it. And I just happened to see some random thing that Chris Voss tweeted, and I saw, your other content, made a decision that I'm going to hang in there. And so sometimes you just never know, man. Sometimes you never know when you're going to touch people and move people. And that's why it's important to tell your story, even though sometimes you don't always get good feedback, because sometimes the people that hear it, they can't, and they're not in a moment to express it, but they'll eventually will, and it'll come back to you. And so it's really good stuff. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for coming on the show. We'll let you get back to your regularly tuned programming, dodging bras and panties being thrown at you as a male model, and
walking my dog, and I'm binging Netflix. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy life I'm living over here.
There you go. But at least you're healthy and happy now, and that's the great thing. I don't know about you, but my body loves me now that I quit all the unhealthy stuff. I mean, even like food, I eat better food now, and farm food and veganese food and stuff. My body's like, thank you. We're going to keep you around for a while. We've decided that.
Hey, it's better late than never, and it's never too late to start. And that's the thing. I mean, we all have different timeline, and like we said, we all have different, storylines or whatever for our lives, and there's no script or whatever. And yeah, it's never too late to start, and at whatever pace you think or is right for you. It's just making yourself a priority, physically, emotionally, and mentally. I think it's all one, because I've ignored the emotional and the mental part before and just focus on the physical, and that's not the answer. It's all, you got to keep the whole thing going. So yeah, I think I really appreciate you having me on. Like I said before, this is a lot of fun. It's nice to have, be able to have a bit more lighthearted conversation, as well as talking about more serious stuff, and have a good back and forth. And thanks very much. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hey, if you ever bump into, in the modeling arena for male models, you ever bumping at Chippendales, Las Vegas, can you tell them to get the manager to return my calls? I'm trying to get my job back over there. So there you go.
I'll see what I can do. I heard the check's in the mail last I heard. So yeah, I mean, I'd look out for that.
There you go.
Yeah. Just don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath.
There's always the Magic Mikes and Thunder Down Under down here in Vegas. So there you go. Evidently Spirit Rider won't take me either, so that's a different story, whatever that's about. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for coming on the show. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss 1 over on TikTok. Those crazy place for the kids. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe and take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.